Thank you, Professor. And Professor, can you tell us what will be the content for the midterm?
The content will be everything.
Like everything till when?
Until next week, we can have for 24th until.
Okay. Everything till 24?
Yeah, 24th, because then you will have like 1 week gap.
Yeah. Thank you, Professor.
What did we cover in the last lecture? I think we did this impact of source inductance on full wave bridge rectifier. Did we cover this? I forgot actually.
Don't recall that much.
Doctor, we don't see your screen.
No, the problem has started again, not seeing the screen.
Yes, we're not seeing the screen now.
We can see it.
Okay. I think we did until this point. Full wave with RL load.
No.
Yes, I think this part we have done. This part we have done, isn't it?
But I guess we stopped. Yes.
We discussed that in the initial transient, we have the current will start from 0, then it will end at some minimum point, then it will further increase, and then it will further increase, and then there will be a steady state condition when you have minimum and maximum fixed. That is the current ripple in the output. And this is the diode current for 1 and 2. This is for 3 and 4, and this is the source current. It is replica of the diode current. The only thing is that this is reversed because it is in the opposite direction. This is, if you have like large inductance, then your current will be flat. There will be no ripple that will be seen because the inductor is very high. And this is the output voltage. This is the output voltage. This is the output voltage, full wave rectified voltage. Now, if you take the Fourier of this, then you will have a DC component and you will have some even harmonics. You asked also that why even harmonics, and if you have everything shifted upward on the like all positive, then you will have like some all even harmonics. And if you have some part in the positive and some part in the negative, then you will have odd harmonics. So the average voltage is 2 Vm by pi, and the harmonic component are given by this, where n will be equal to 2. Then V2, that is the second harmonic, will come out to be 4 by 3 Vm pi. This will be the second harmonic. Then sixth harmonic will be 15 by sixth will be 1 by, it will be 4 by 15 pi Vm. This is sixth harmonic. And the output voltage DC will be V0 by R, and the AC component will be Vn by Zn, where Vn is the nth harmonic, and usually we take a second harmonic. This is fourth, second harmonic and fourth harmonic. Even if you have just second harmonic considered for the calculation, that is fair enough. Okay. Based on this, this is the problem that the bridge rectifier with 100 volt peak value at 60 hertz, RL load 10 ohm, 10 millihenry, determine the average current. So average current is what? I0, which is equal to V0 by R. So we need to know what is V0. V0 is 2 Vm by pi. That is the average DC voltage. So average DC voltage 2 into Vm by pi. Here there is a problem. I think this This here they mentioned 100 and here they mentioned 200. Let me check. This is this is not 200, this is 100. Okay, this is 100. So this is the average DC voltage and this is the average DC current. Okay, now amplitude of the AC voltage terms for n is equal to 2 and n is equal to 4. So for V2 voltage is 42.4 and V4 is 8 point. This is same like 4.3 4 by 3 pi Vm, and this is 4 by 15 pi Vm. So you get this V2 and V4. Now from V2 and V4 you can calculate I2 and I4, that is the second harmonic and fourth harmonic of the current. This is R plus Jn omega L. N is the number of harmonics, so it is second harmonic, omega is 377 and L is 0.01. So from here you get 3.39 and you get 0.47. Then the RMS current, I gave you this formula that it will be equal to, I remember this was given, I naught square plus I2 by root 2 square plus I4 by root 2 square. This is the RMS current. So this comes out as 6.81, and from there you can calculate the power that is lost in the output resistance, that is 464 watt. And the power factor is output power divided by Vrms into Irms. Vrms is 100 by root 2 and Irms is 6.81 calculated. So you get the power factor of 0.96. Now the average diode current is I0 by 2 and the diode current RMS value is Irms by root 2. So this is how you calculate the average current through the diode. And because I0 is the total current, but half of this will be through one diode. So it is 3.19. Now the next is the single phase full wave with RLE load. What is the meaning of RLE? You have resistance, you have inductance, and you have a battery. This is the load. Okay, this can be considered as like a battery charging system. So in this RLE load, you can have continuous current mode or you can have discontinuous current mode. Continuous current mode means the current that is flowing through the load will always be more than 0, means always positive. But discontinuous means sometime you may see that the current reaches 0 and it remains 0 for some time, like for example like this. So this is for the continuous current. This is for the continuous current. Current is always there in positive. But discontinuous current means current will come like this. It will remain for some time 0, and then it will again go like this, remain 0 like this. So if it is remain 0 for some time, then it is called discontinuous mode. It is called discontinuous mode. And there is a boundary between the continuous and discontinuous is like this. And if you have a continuous current, this continuous current, and the discontinuous current is like this. Now, if you have a current that exactly touches 0 and then go back, touches 0, go back, and like this. So this is, you can call as the boundary condition, boundary condition between continuous and discontinuous. So it just touches 0 and increases. But if remains 0 for some time, then it is continuous. It is called discontinuous mode. But it just touches and go up, then it is called boundary condition. Boundary condition. Because just above that it is continuous, just below that it is discontinuous. Okay. So we'll see what is the continuous mode with RLE load. So in RLE load, it is same as RL load. This is the analysis of RL load, exactly the same that is applied to the RLE load also. The only thing is that the diode starts working when your VM is greater than VDC. When your VM is greater than VDC, because this is your VM. This is your VM, and say this is your VDC. VDC means the voltage of the load, battery load. So once it increases this value, then only the diode will conduct. Before that, the diode cannot conduct. So diode will conduct only from this period to this period. Diode will conduct only between this period to this period when Vm is greater than Vdc. Okay. So only in this period the diode will conduct. Only in this period diode will conduct. But if you have because of inductance, it will go little bit beyond this value. Okay, because of the inductive effect. So everything will remain the same. The only thing is that the average voltage in the RL load was this. Average voltage was 2 Vm by pi. But now the average voltage will be 2 Vm by pi minus Vdc. Okay, minus Vdc, because you have a DC in the load. So this will be the average value. This will be the average output voltage, and the current, average current, you divide it by R. Okay, so that is the only change that you will see in the average output voltage and average output current. So average output voltage and average output current, that only changes. The other thing remains the same. That means this will remain the same. This will remain the same. This only changed. This changed, but this part remains the same. That is, the AC part remains the same. Okay. So here is an example for full wave bridge rectifier. The AC source is 120 volt, 60 hertz, 2 ohm, 10 milli. DC volt is 80 volt. Determine the power absorbed by the DC source and the power absorbed by the load resistance. So load resistance power absorbed is always, as you know, I RMS square into R. This is the power loss by in the resistance. And what is the power that is absorbed by the DC source? Power absorbed by DC source will be equal to I naught into Vdc. I naught into Vdc. This is the power absorbed by the DC source. So DC source power absorbed formula is not given here. So power absorbed by battery or DC source is equal to I naught into Vdc. Okay. So, and what is I naught? I naught, you know, it is V naught minus Vdc by R. And what is V naught? Is 2 Vm by pi. 2 Vm by pi. So 2 Vm by pi is 2 into Vm is root 2 into 120 divided by pi minus 80 divided by 2, 14 ampere. So just multiply this 14 ampere with 80 volt. That will give you the power absorbed by the battery. Okay. And to find out the power absorbed by the resistance, we have to find out I square RMS. And what is the formula for IRS? IRMS is I naught square. It is like this: I naught square plus I2 by root 2 square plus I4 by root 2 square. Now, how to find I2 and I4? I2 is V2 upon Z2. Yes. And what is I4? Is V4 by Z4. So we have to find out what is V2 and what is V4 and what is Z2 and Z4. So what is V2? V2 is given as 4 by 3 pi Vm. This is V2. And what is V4? V4 is 4 by 15 pi Vm. So this is V4. And what is Z2? Z2 is R plus J 2 omega L. This is Z2. And what is Z4? Z4 is R plus J 4 omega L. So you calculate all this. This is your fundamental component, the DC component, 108. N is equal to 0. N is equal to 0. Yes, this is the fundamental component. Not fundamental. This is DC component. So DC component we already calculated here. No need to calculate again. No need, because this is already calculated here. Now, you see here, this is already calculated. So this is DC. This is DC. This is DC. Now this is for second harmonic, for fourth harmonic. Vn Z is current. Then you use this formula to get the RMS current. And once you know the RMS current, just multiply by square of it into R. That will give you the power law. Do you understand this?
Dr. Clear.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So so the room is booked honey, for you for 8th. Okay. So we'll move the exam to 8th honey. So on 8th March, 11 to 1, H08, E 203, 204, and H08D 203 and 204. So these are the rooms. Okay. I will send you by email also. Now let us see the single phase bridge rectifier with capacitor filter, with capacitive filter. So we have already seen this for the half wave rectifier, that you see the capacitor initially charges. It initially charges, and then once the source voltage just get below the capacitor voltage, then the capacitor will start discharging. And the diodes will be reverse biased. So same thing happens here, exactly the same as half rectifier. The only thing is that in the half wave rectifier, it goes to the second cycle. Here it goes to the next cycle. You will see that there is a the output voltage is again there. So it discharges, and then again it charges, then again it discharges. So what you see in the output is like this. This is your output voltage. It's like triangular wave shape. This is the output voltage that you get in the DC. So you see, if you do not have a capacitor, your output voltage is like this. This is your output voltage without capacitor. And now with capacitor, your output voltage is like this. This is your output voltage. So it has very less ripple and is a good DC output. Okay. And the difference between the peak of the maximum and minimum, we call it voltage ripple. So higher the value of capacitor, lower will be the ripple. Okay. And the ripple voltage delta V0 is given as Vm upon 2f RC. This is how you get this is the ripple voltage. In the case of half wave rectifier, it was double. In the case of full wave rectifier, it is half. So this 2 is there. Now let us solve a problem for the capacitor filter. So full wave rectifier has 120 volt source, 500 ohm, capacitor value 100 microfarad. Determine the peak to peak voltage variation, means delta V0. We have to find out what is delta V0. So delta V0 is given by the formula. Vm 1 minus sine alpha. And we have to find out what is alpha. So to get the sine alpha, we have to solve the numerical equation. So this numerical equation is to be solved to get the value of alpha. And what is alpha? Alpha is this value. You see, this is pi by 2, peak at pi by 2, and this is theta, at which capacitor start discharging. And what is alpha? It is this angle at which capacitor start charging. So theta, where capacitor start discharging, and alpha, where capacitor starts charging. So this is the instant in the second cycle at which it starts charging. So the formula was given earlier. how to get the formula for this, alpha. To calculate alpha, you have this expression, and then from here you calculate the value of alpha. Then after calculating alpha, you put in the this formula for the delta V naught, so you get the ripple, peak to peak ripple of 22 volt. Now after getting this, and you see it says that if it is half a rectifier, this would have been 43, double of this. Okay, there is small error, like because of the numerical calculation. So now you see delta V naught. This is very important formula. This formula, delta V naught over Vm, which is the ripple. Ripple is 1%. So we have to keep 0.01, and that should be equal to 1 upon 2 FRC. And from here, you can calculate the value of C. The value of R is already given. R is already given. So this is second part. In the first part, capacitor value is already given. In the second part, it is mentioned that now if you want to keep the ripple 1%, if you want to keep the ripple 1%, what should be the value of capacitor? So the value of capacitor is this. This question is important, and from exam point of view, this type of question is asked to design rectifier with C filter.
Doctor,
Yes.
but alpha should be given, right? Because
Alpha should be,
because-
yeah, because you can do this in the exam, like this is the numerical example. Yes. So maybe, only this part will be given, maybe the alpha given, anyway. But this type of question is generally asked. Okay. Now, impact of source inductance in full wave bridge rectifier. So you see what happens, that this is the source. The source is coming from where? The source is coming from transformer. Yes. And transformer has generally leakage reactance. It has generally leakage reactance, and that is high value. So we have to consider the impact of this leakage reactance in what is happening in the rectifier. So how it is impacting the rectifier performance, that we have to look into. Okay. So we have to see if there is no when there is no reactance, and when there is a reactance. So when the source changes polarity, so you see, okay, now I will explain you what is happening here. You see, in the beginning, the current is flowing from D1 to the load to D2 and coming back to the source. Okay, this is how the current flows. This is how the current flows. The current is going like this. So I call it like ID1, current through the diode D1. And this is the load current, I0. This is the current ID2, the current through the diode. Now this is all same current. You see, this is same current. This is coming from here. It is going like this, going like this. It is same current. Okay. Now this is like, suppose this is my ID1, that is the current through diode 1, which is same as my output current. I just forget about this part for now. So it is flowing like this. Okay, this is my current. This is my current. Constant current is going through the load, and same current is flowing through the diode 1 and diode 2. This is same ID1, and also this is ID2. Both are same. Okay. Now, what happens that when the source voltage is when the source voltage is reversed, when the source voltage is reversed, when the source voltage is reversed, now this is minus and this is plus. So what will happen? The current that was flowing from ID1, now the current will flow through ID3. Yes, the current will flow through ID3. Current will come here. It will come here. It will go to ID4, and then it will go like this. Okay. So earlier it was going from ID1. Now the current will switch from D1 to D3. From D1 to D3. Current will switch from D1 to D3. So when current will switch from D1 to D3, if there is no inductance, here, then this will be instantaneous. Like current ID1 will fall, and ID3 will take over. This is without inductance effect. But now, since you have the inductance in the source, what it will do that it will not allow the sudden drop of ID1 current. It will not allow sudden drop in the ID1 current, and also it will not allow sudden rise in the ID3 current. So sudden drop of ID1 not allowed. Sudden rise of ID3 not allowed. So what will happen? The current will slowly decay from ID1 and it will slowly increase to ID3. So that is what you see here. That the current ID1 will slowly drop, and in the same time ID3 will rise, and once it becomes 0, this will take over all I0, all current. So this effect you see also in the source. The source current, you see, positive is same as this current, and negative is this current, that is the ID3. So this you will see a rise and fall of current due to the inductance effect. Okay, due to the inductance effect. Now this period, the output voltage becomes 0. Why? Because there is, you see, there is a current flowing through ID1, current flowing through D1 here, current flowing through D1, and current also flowing through D3. So both of them are conducting. When both of them are conducting, so you see, this is conducting, and this is conducting. So what is happening? This voltage will be short circuited. So due to the simultaneous operation or simultaneous on of, you see here, D1, D2 is on, also D3, D4 is on. So what will happen? The output voltage will be 0. And there is a slow fall of current through ID1 and ID2, and slow rise of current through ID3 and ID4. Now, how slow and how fast, that depends upon the value of the inductance. So this period is called commutation overlap. And it is referred here as U. Please ask if you do not understand, or is it clear?
Professor,
Yes.
The reason why we added inductor is to decrease the power loss, right?
No. We did not add this. This is a part of the source, because source is my transformer. Transformer has some inductance. Okay. Transformer is an inductive device and it has leakage inductance. So that inductance I have shown here, that is the source inductance. Okay. I did not add it, and this is by default, it is there, and practically it is there.
Okay. And actually, I didn't understand why the output voltage will be open circuit when all of them are conducting.
No. It is not open circuit. It is short circuit. Because you see here in this period, what are the diodes that are conducting? All the diodes are conducting in this period, because D1 is going off, from on to off. It is going from on to off. Here it is on, it is going towards off, but it is in this period it is on. And also you see the other D3 and D4 also on in this time. So this is like a short circuit, and this is like a short circuit, and all of them are on. You see here the current is slowly falling, the current is slowly rising. So that means all are on. When all are on, it is short circuit. It is short circuit. So V0 is 0. V0 is 0. This is what you see here, V0 0. And now what is the impact of this? The impact of this will be that the average voltage will be reduced, because you see the average voltage is going to 0 for some period. Average voltage is going to 0 for some period, and that will cause a reduction in the output voltage. Okay, a reduction in the output voltage. So you assume that the load current is constant. The current in LS is the source during the commutation from D1, D2 to D3. It starts, I0 goes to I0. Commutation interval, it starts when the source changes polarity at omega t is equal to pi, as it is expressed in. So at this time, when the source voltage the source voltage is not drawn here. Source voltage is like this. Source voltage is not drawn here. So as soon as the source voltage changes polarity, when it changes from plus minus to minus plus, then this problem occurs at the negative cycle. So we can find the source current as the integration of 1 by omega ls Vm sin omega t plus I0. And this gives you the, just a second, yeah, this gives you the source current. The source current was already obtained before, I think. Source current from pi to omega t. Now when commutation is completed at pi plus u, then the current will be equal to negative of I0, and this current will be equal to, you can get the value of u, and so you get the value of u from here, and the average voltage is this, and from here you get the average voltage of this. Okay, so the current, this is my source current, this is my source current. So source current will not see a sudden jump, but it will see a slow rise, then constant, then fall, then negative constant, then again rise, like this. This is how you see the source current. So the source current is obtained by using this formula for the integration. This actually, this source current, we have to check. We have done this before. In the half wave rectifier, we have done this before. Let me check. Yes. Okay. Yeah. You see here, the current, the source current is like this. Yes. The voltage across this VLS is same as the sin omega t. Vm sin omega t. And the current through this IS is equal to LS dVs by dt. This is how you get the current through this. And then to get IS dt is equal to LS dVs. Okay. And then you take omega here, then divide by omega. So you get IS is equal to Yeah, so you get this. So this is from VLS is equal to LS DIS by dt from this equation, from this voltage across the inductor. So from here you get this, and then you integrate this. Now at omega t is equal to pi plus u, at this point the current here it was plus I naught, here it become minus I naught. So at this instant it become minus I naught. So you put this is equal to minus I naught, and from here you get the value of u. And once you get the value of u, because this omega ls is equal to xs, so once you get the value of u, then you can get the average voltage. Average voltage is 1 by pi. Now you see, instead of 0 you will have u here, u to pi. So this is your average output voltage, and from this average output voltage you can get this expression. Now you see, if you have u is equal to 0, there is no commutation overlap, then what will be the average voltage? Vm by pi 1 plus 1, which is equal to 2 Vm by pi, which is same as what we have seen earlier. So the commutation overlap will cause a reduction in the output voltage. How much reduction? So Vm, 2 Vm by pi, this is your original voltage without commutation overlap, and with commutation overlap it is like this: Vm by pi 1 plus cos u. Okay, so this is reduction. And if you want percentage reduction, divide by 2 Vm by pi. So question can be asked like this. Okay, question can be asked in the exam like this, that assuming the commutation overlap, and commutation overlap angle, say u is equal to 5 degree, for example, given u is equal to 5 degree, find out the overall percentage reduction in the output voltage. So you can obtain like this. Do you understand?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, doctor. Doctor,
Yes.
just a simple question. Are we going to be given the formulas in the exam, or should I try to memorize them?
Either I can give you the formula, or I can ask you to bring your formula sheet.
Okay,
Either
that's
of
good.
it. Okay, but I know that not these formulas are to be remembered or memorized, because there are lot many. You have to understand the concepts. You have to understand the concept, what is happening and why it is happening. You have to understand the the waveforms. You have to understand the waveforms. Okay, so this is important to understand how to draw the waveform and to understand the operation. Okay, and once it is there, then it is mathematics is simple, Fourier analysis and all that. Okay, so
Yeah.
the whole take from this is that if you have an inductor in the source, which is there in the practically, which is there, what happens that there will be overall reduction in the output voltage, and this overall reduction in the output voltage is how much you can do like this. In HVDC applications, high voltage DC transmission, you have like very big converters that you use there, rectifiers, even like about 2000 megawatt rating rectifiers are there, and like huge transformers are there of like 500 600 kilovolt like this. So there are big inductor that is there, and this inductor will have the impact due to the commutation overlap, and you can go even up to 13 to 15 degree of commutation overlap. So this is important to take into account in the practical system. Now let us see what is voltage doubler circuit. The full wave rectifier we can use as a voltage doubler circuit also. Voltage doubler means what? Here you have Vm, here you get 2 Vm. That means double your input voltage, double the input voltage. Double. Okay. It's called voltage doubler. So you see how you do that. You connect a capacitor here and you connect a capacitor here. This is C1, this is C2. Okay. Now when diode D1 is on, it will charge this capacitor like this. Okay, it will charge the capacitor like this. So what is the voltage that it will come across the capacitor? The whole voltage that is come from the source. So Vm. Now this is the Vm, and when the negative half cycle, when D2 is on, then you see capacitor will charge like this. In the negative half cycle, capacitor will charge like this. Capacitor will charge like this. So this is also Vm. So you see, when you take total, it becomes 2 Vm. 2 Vm. So this is how you can build a voltage doubler circuit using 2 diodes, which is like a full bridge, full wave rectifier. Okay. This is with 2 diode, and here you have with 4 diode, the bridge rectifier. So in the bridge rectifier also, if the switch is off, the switch is off, then it same acts like a normal bridge rectifier. But when switch is on, what will happen when the switch is on? You see this diode is operating like this. It will go like this. It will come like this. It will come like this, and current will come like this. So the capacitor will be charged. And what is the voltage of the capacitor? That will be Vm, same as the source voltage. And in the negative half cycle, this is your on, and negative half cycle means what? This is your minus, this is your plus. Okay. So when this is plus, so which one will be on?
D2 and D1.
Yes.
Yeah, D2 and D1.
You see, this is minus. Okay. This is minus, and this is plus. This is plus. So when this is minus and this is plus, this diode is on. This diode is on. So when this diode is on, the current will flow like this. The current will flow like this. It will go like this, go to the it will come like this. So through D4, it will go through D4, because D4 will be on. D4 will be on. Understand? So when D1 is on, C1 was charged. When D4 is on, C2 is charged. D3 and D2 will not have any role in this. D2 and D3 will not have any role in this, because they will be all the time reverse biased. They will be reverse biased. They will be reverse biased.
So doctor, that's why we don't use them. The D3 and D4.
Yeah,
the practical circuit is the one on the left.
Yeah, it is same like this, same like this. So, but the thing is that you are suppose operating your rectifier in normal bridge mode, and now suppose by somehow you want a double voltage, then you can keep this provision. Okay, so you can keep just a switch here, and you just turn on and turn off. So where is the application of this? So suppose you have a your what do you call it, the power supply for mobile charging, for example. Suppose you have a power charger, you have a charger circuit to charge your mobile. Say this is your mobile. Okay, and you have here, due to this switch, you have provision of operating this at 2 different voltages, 120 volt as well as 240 volt. Suppose when you are in USA, and the supply voltage in the USA is what? 120 volt. So in 120 volt, and suppose your you want 240 volt here. So what you do? No, this is not. Sorry, not. This is double voltage. We want double voltage here. When we want double voltage, we just switch on. We get 240 volt here. When you switch off this, you get 120 volt. You get 120 volt. So this circuit has the functionality of like getting two different voltages, 120 volt as well as 240 volt. Okay.
Doctor,
Yes.
but if we apply the example that you're given of the US and the voltage
Yeah.
here.
So if you want like power supply, if you want a power supply that can be used in both the places with 120 volt and 240 volt system, then you can have a charger like this kind. You just make a you have to have like two split capacitors, and you have to have a switch, and these two additional things.
Yes, doctor, but what about the frequency difference, 50 and 60 hertz?
Yeah, 50, the frequency, that if you have 50 hertz device and you are using it in 60 hertz, there will be loss, there will be little more loss, but it's like frequency is not much different. If you are using 25 and 50, then you will see more losses and heating up. But if it is 50, 60, there's not like much difference, but there will be some more losses, like due to the increase in the frequency, the loss will increase.
Yes, doctor, but how do we compensate that?
No, you cannot compensate any. You cannot compensate for that any, because
I mean,
you have designed all your inductor, capacitor, and everything you have designed for 50 hertz operation, but you are making them in 60 hertz. So the magnetic losses will increase. The dielectric losses will increase.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah. Now, if you have LC filter, so here you have inductor and here you have capacitor. So both inductor and capacitors are used. Now you know that inductor is used to reduce the current ripple. Reduces the current ripple. It reduces the current ripple, and capacitor reduces the voltage ripple. Okay, it reduces the voltage ripple. So inductor, it blocks AC and it allows DC to pass, whereas capacitor blocks DC and pass AC. So from here, you see, this is my full wave rectifier. Here, what is I am giving is sine wave. My sine wave is coming from here. But what is the voltage coming across this? The voltage that is coming across the rectifier, which is, I called it Vx. It is how? It looks like this. Yes. Across the rectifier, we have this kind of voltage. Do you understand? Yes. Here we have this voltage. Now, in this voltage, you have DC component plus AC component. You have DC component plus AC component. So what will happen? The inductor will pass the DC component and it will block the AC component. So you will have your ripple will reduce. Your ripple will. So before it was like big ripple like this. Now you will have less ripple. You will have less ripple because it will allow only DC to pass, but all the AC will be dropped in the inductor. Why it will be dropped in the inductor? Because it is J omega L. This is the reactance. Higher the frequency, higher will be the impedance of the inductance. So it will block AC and it will allow DC to pass. Now, but still there will be some ripple here. Still there will be some ripple here. Now, you see in the capacitor, it will allow the AC to pass. So all the AC component goes to the ground from here, but it will block the DC. So it will not allow the DC to pass. So the DC will appear here. DC will appear here. So you will have DC appear here. So this is how you have LC filter that is used. This will allow the current ripple reduction. This will allow the voltage ripple reduction. And overall, you will have a nice waveform at the source, at the load. So in this harmonics, which one is dominant harmonic? tell me, which is the most dominant harmonic in this? In Vx, which is the most dominant harmonics?
positive اللي هو the even ones.
Yes. You see, it has only even ones. Evens, only even. But which even? It has most dominant.
Second.
Yes, second. So this is the Fourier. And second harmonic is the most dominant in this. So if you just consider the analysis purpose only second harmonic, that is enough. You don't need to consider like, fourth and sixth and so on. Okay. And what is the average value of this? What is the average value of this? Is 2 Vm by pi. This is the average value. Okay. Now, what is the average voltage drop across inductor? Average voltage drop across inductor. Average voltage drop across inductor. So average voltage drop across inductor is always 0. And average current through capacitor is always 0. Remember this thing. Average voltage drop across inductor is 0 and average current through capacitor is always 0. So average voltage drop, this we have seen in the beginning first lecture. It was proved that L di by dt is equal to 0. Average voltage drop. Average voltage. This is not 0. The average voltage drop is 0. That we have seen. Let me check.
Doctor, is this the case even in practical, or do we have
Yeah, this is practical
small?
case. No, this is practical case.
Okay.
Average voltage. Yeah, we have done this in the first lecture. That was average voltage VL, which is equal to 1 by T integral VL dt. That was 0. Average voltage was 0. Yes, because of the periodic nature of the current that passes through this. So we have done mathematically that IT naught plus T minus IT naught is equal to 0 because the current is periodic from the inductor. So the average voltage is 0, and the same thing we have discussed that the voltage is periodic in the nature. Just a second. You see, the current through inductor. Say this is current through inductor. Then current is periodic in nature. So I at T plus T is equal to I at T. Yes. So from this, I at T plus T is equal to 1 by L integral T to T plus T into VL dt plus I at, say this is T naught, say this is T naught, then it is T naught, T naught, T naught. This is at I T naught, and then I at T naught plus T minus of I at T naught will be equal to 1 by L in integral T naught to T naught plus T VL dt. And what is this? This is equal to 0 because they are the same. I after a period of T, suppose you start from here, say this is your T naught, then this is your T naught plus T. So at T naught plus T, the value of the current is the same. So the difference of this will be 0. So this is 0 is equal to 1 by L integral T naught plus T VL dt. This is average voltage. This is average voltage. So the average voltage is 0 across inductor, always. Remember this thing. And same thing you can do for the capacitor. the average current through capacitor is 0. Okay. So this is the output voltage. You see, this is your rectified output voltage here. This is the voltage here. This is this voltage Vx. Okay, and this is your VDC, that is the voltage across the capacitor. Voltage across the capacitor. So whenever the voltage across, whenever the voltage source voltage increases beyond VDC, that is the capacitor voltage, only that time you will see that the diode pair will conduct. So you will have a current from this point only. The current will start from this point only. Current will start from this point and it will remain until this. Okay. So from here to here, the current should be there, but then due to inductive effect of the you will have the current that will go beyond this value. So if you have this kind of current, this is called continuous current. But if you have this kind of current, it is called discontinuous current. It is called discontinuous current. So current will start at alpha and it will fall at beta. Then again it will start from pi plus alpha and go to pi plus beta. This is discontinuous mode. But continuous mode, it is always like this. Okay. So it will start from here and then in the next cycle it will start from here. You see here, from here to here it will fall. From here to here it will fall. And then again it will rise, then fall, then rise, and then fall, like this. So average current through the capacitor is 0. Hence the load current and inductor current are the same. You see here, the average current through capacitor is 0. So when the average current through capacitor is 0, so this current is 0. This current is 0. So whatever is the inductor current is the same as your load current, because the average current through the capacitor is 0. So the average current through the load is same as the average current through the inductor. So this is what is shown here, that your average load current is IR is same as the inductor current, and this is average value. So this is average value divided by R. And what is the average value? It is the DC value, which is 2 Vm by pi upon R. So this is the inductor current, same as the load current. Okay. Now capacitor offers short circuit to AC. Yes, it offers short circuit to AC, means it allows all the AC to flow through this. It allows all the AC to flow through this. So the current through capacitor, the most dominant is the second harmonic current. So second harmonic current is given as V2 by Z2. And this Z2 is 2 J omega L. J is not given here, just magnitude they are considering. And V2, you know, is 4 by 3 pi Vm. This is second harmonic current. This is second harmonic voltage. So this is the second harmonic current. So the AC component of current, should be less than the load current. Then only the continuous mode will be there. So for continuous mode, you see, this is my continuous and this is my discontinuous mode. This is my discontinuous mode. So the AC ripple must be less than the AC ripple, must be less than the load, or DC current must be less than the DC current. Because you see, AC, if AC is more, what will happen? If AC ripple is more, so what will happen, that it will go, so your DC value is less, your AC value is more. So you may have current like this, you may have current like this, because your AC is more. So that's why for continuous mode operation, it is necessary that your ripple AC component should be less than the DC component. This is, otherwise you will have like you can have negative current, or you can have the discontinuous current. So for the continuous current, this is very important that this condition must be satisfied. The AC current should be less than the DC current. AC current should be less than the DC current. And then what is the AC current formula? Is 2 Vm by 3 pi omega L. And what is DC current? Is 2 Vm by pi R. So from here you can get the value of L. So the L should be greater than R by 3 omega. This is the condition for continuous current. Or you can write it like this. So condition for continuous current. This is important. What is the condition for continuous current? Now, in the discontinuous current, for discontinuous inductor current, the current reaches 0 during each period of current waveform, because so at this point, you see here for discontinuous, this is the discontinuous mode. So in discontinuous mode, the current is 0 here, then it goes to 0 here, then it is 0 here, and then it is 0 here. And it starts from alpha, goes to 0 at beta, then start at pi plus alpha, goes to 0 at pi plus beta. So the current is only positive from here to here. It increases, and as soon as the DC voltage, the source voltage drops below the DC voltage, the current starts falling. So output voltage Vm sine alpha should be equal to V naught. This is the condition to get the alpha at this alpha. This is your alpha at which current starts increasing. How you get this alpha? Vm sine alpha should be equal to VDC. This is the case. So from here you get alpha. This is VDC, V naught or VDC. Current is positive, the voltage across the inductor is okay. When the current is positive, the voltage across inductor is given by this. This is from the circuit. Voltage across inductor. This voltage minus this voltage. So you get the expression for the current, and from the current expression you get the condition for where the output voltage V naught is yet to be determined. Inductor current is expressed as this. Okay, so this is the inductor current, and from this inductor current you have this inductor current expression is valid for omega t between alpha to beta. This is between alpha to beta, because between alpha to beta only you have the current. From alpha to beta, your current is positive. Otherwise, your current is zero. So there is a graph that is shown for V naught by Vm, that is the normalized output voltage with respect to 3 omega L by R, which is the condition for the normalized output voltage versus 3 omega L by R. And this 3 omega L by R is what? This is the condition for the continuous current. This condition for continuous current. This 3 omega L by R should be greater than 1. Then only you will have the continuous current. So here is the procedure is given for discontinuous conduction mode. How to obtain the value of output V naught? How you determine V naught? So this is step 1. Estimate the value of V naught slightly below Vm and solve for alpha. You solve for alpha, and then you solve for beta using numerical method. Equation is this, and then you solve for average inductor current, and then solve for the load current as solve for the load voltage as load voltage is IL into R. So you get IL from here, and then you calculate V naught, and then you repeat this until the computed value of V naught is equal to your estimated value. So this is how you make the calculation for the discontinuous mode. This is discontinuous mode. For discontinuous mode, we have to find out the value of V naught. So to get the V naught, what you do, that first step, that you assume the value of V naught. Suppose Vm is 100, then V naught you assume as 90. Okay. And then you calculate. After assuming, then you calculate V naught. And after calculating, you see if it is close to your estimated value, then it's fine. If not, then you have to repeat the step. So it is iterative procedure. So first step is, after the assumption of V naught, you calculate alpha, and after calculating alpha, you calculate beta. After calculating beta, you calculate IL, and after calculating IL, you find V naught. Okay, so this is the step. So it is clear from this expression, this example. So a full wave rectifier has a source voltage of this, and LC filter is used. L is equal to 5, C is equal to this. The load resistance is 5 ohm and 50 ohm. Determine the output voltage for each case. So we have to check if it is continuous mode or discontinuous mode. So for continuous mode, R should be less than 3 omega L. So this is equal to 5.7. So 3 omega L. So which indicate that continuous current for 5 ohm. Because 5.7 is your critical value of R. Any resistance below 5 ohm will give you continuous current. Any value of resistance above this will give you discontinuous. That means this is continuous mode and this is discontinuous mode. So we have to solve for continuous mode as well as discontinuous mode. For continuous mode, it is very simple. The output voltage is 2 Vm by pi. So just you put the value and you get the answer. One step answer. Okay. Because what we have to find out is output voltage for a continuous case. For continuous case is very simple, just 2 Vm by pi. But you have to check if it is continuous or not. And for continuous, you check this condition. Now, for 50 ohm, because it is discontinuous. So what we have to do for discontinuous, this is the steps given. These are the steps given. We have to do this. So since the voltage is 100 volt, peak value, I assume 90. After assuming 90, I get alpha, then I get beta, then I get V naught, calculated V naught. From here, step 1, we calculate alpha. Alpha is calculated as this formula. This is alpha. And for calculating beta, this is the formula for beta. Then this is the formula for load current, and then output voltage. So we get beta, then we get, but this value is this estimate is too high, because we estimated 90, but our answer is 38. So our estimate is too high. What we do? We reduce our estimate. So make it 80. When I make it 80, I get 159. That means it is too high. Means my estimate is too low. This value is too high. What I do? I further increase this to make it 85. I got 88.2, which is close enough. Then I further increase this. It becomes too high. Then I change it to 85.3. I get this. So now 85.3 and 84.6 very close. So this is how you do the discontinuous calculation. Okay, so it is tedious calculation, but this is how you have to do. But you see, in practical situation, you don't need to do these many calculations. You just look into the graph. You look into the graph, and from here you find the value. Okay, so in this graph, 3 omega L by R. So I calculate this. I calculate this 3 omega L by R as 0.113. R is 50 ohm. So 0.113 you take from the graph. So this is my value. So V naught by Vm is almost 0.85. So from here you get V naught as 85 volt. So straight away from the graph you can calculate. No need to go for these many calculations. Understand? Do you understand this point?
Understood.
Okay, so I will stop at this point. So if this graph is given, and these values are given, you just use your first thing is that you have to check if it is continuous or discontinuous. If it is continuous, this formula. If it is discontinuous, use this graph. Okay, or this is analytical approach. This is analytical approach. This is analytical approach. This is graphical approach. This is graphical approach.